Bolswijk. I'm the coordinator of the Inclusive Community Lab Friesland, and we are a teaching lab where we have students from different academies working together to solve major societal problems. Mm-hmm. And one of our research lecturers is Riefel.
Too late. Sorry. Hi.
And yeah, she runs all the research. But we do just a couple of key facts. We've got at this point 17 different projects with 110 students, all from, and we try to have every problem managed by a group of students from different educations. So social work, HRM, economics and logistics, and they work together, which is very funny because a couple of years ago these students were in high school together, and then they went their separate ways, social work, HRM, etc. And now you put them back together 2 or 3 years after they graduated high school, and they don't speak each other's language anymore. Yeah, and that is actually the first learning moment for the students. They figure out, wow, we're the same age, we come from the same background, but why do you think this way? All right, we have a lot of different projects. One of them is the unemployed graduate, and it's actually the subject of my thesis for my MBA, which I hope I will graduate from somewhere in the coming months. And well, one of my questions was, how can we design a community of informal coaching or a community of learning? All right. Yesterday I was in my car listening to an audiobook, and in that audiobook there was a quote, and I had to put it in there. It's from Marilyn Fry, and in 1983 she developed the birdcage theory. When we look at just a single wire in the cage, we do not know why the bird isn't free. But when we zoom out a bit and we find, we see the system of wires, we know why the bird can't get out. It's kind of the same with everybody that's struggling. Well, it's the same with our students, our graduates that can't find a job. It's never a single issue. But the good thing is, there's always a door, and it's up to us to find that door and to open it for them. All right. My thesis is, by allowing students to work through DBE on job guidance for unemployed graduates, value propositions for the latter group are improved and municipal services are supplemented. Do you know what DBE is? No. Design-based education. It's the form of education that we've adopted here within the university, and it is a new way of tackling problems. You start with looking at the problem from different perspectives. You start discussing it. You start wondering what's the question behind the question, or what is actually the problem, and then through discussion and through research, you decide which direction you take. And it's actually very simple, but it's a very good way of understanding each other. And yeah, that's actually why we put it in, because it's what we use nowadays. The unemployed graduates within the municipality of Leeuwarden, there's actually 360 students, or former students, that are in a welfare situation. I'm not sure how it is in France, but it's probably similar to here. If you don't get a job, the government gives you a little bit of money, just enough to not die, but not enough to have a good life. Something like that, right? It's a good thing that we've got the French and not the Americans, because the Americans have nothing. Yes. So the municipality pays for that, and so and since it's 360 of them, it's a lot of money, and they want to reach their target group. They want to say to those graduates, hey, let's get to work. But the graduates, they're not having it. They're very reluctant to work with the municipality, because the municipality is very punitive. They say, if you don't do this, then we'll take your money away. They're not very positive in their approach to the target group. Then we have the next stakeholder, the unemployed graduate. They're near here. They're near us. They're in the city, and they're available. They don't have anything to do. But how do we reach them? we can't reach them through the municipality, because whenever there's a letter that says gemeente Leeuwarden on it, they're like, yeah, no. And so what we did is we decided to have our students contact them. So the students, we gave them lists of names that we got from the municipality, and we started calling them. Started sending them a letter, like, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? What can we do for you? And then the third stakeholder, the Inclusivity Lab, NHL Stenden University, but also NHL Stenden University, we feel that we have a responsibility towards our former students. And I see you thinking that are all the graduates on welfare within the city, are they all from here? And the answer is yes. 95 to 98% is, because there's very little migration of unemployed people from the west of the country to the north, for instance. But now, normally the university said, hey, you know what, we're going to give you this education, and then bye. That's it. And at the moment, it's no longer that fire and forget mentality. It's more, okay, we need to be a good host. We need to make sure that when the students graduate from here, that we keep in touch with them. But also, if they don't, we need to find out why not. So we need to be in contact with our former graduates and former students. And that's what we have tried to do. We've used the Desi and Ryan self-determination theory. If you give people autonomy, competence, and relatedness, they will feel whole. They will feel better. We've also used our participation ladder, and which actually is, it starts all the way at the bottom. It's in Dutch, but it starts with isolation. Sometimes when people aren't working or they aren't involved in society, they sit at home and they lose track of their friends who might have a job. And they're always away, so they get isolated. What we try to do is get them out of isolation and get them towards step 2. Get them, give them more social contact, make them a part of society. And then they start part 3, participating in activities, volunteer work, paid work, and in the end, just a steady, sustainable job. That's actually what we aim for. When the municipality tried this, they said, hey, unemployed people, come here, we'll get you to work. That didn't work. What we did is we contacted the unemployed people and said, hey, let's talk. Would you like a cup of coffee? And they would come into our lab, which is actually a physical place, about 2 kilometers that way, and they would come in, and we would start talking to them. And before you knew it, they started, well, a couple of them came in Dutch, we would say, like a dead bird. Comme un oiseau mort. But then at the end of the day, they flew out because they were happy again because they were amongst people again. And yeah, that was really good because we reached them. We made them, well, we gave them something interesting to do, even though it wasn't really big. It was actually very small, but sometimes the smallest things are the best. So our what we try to do is we try to design alternative and additional ways to take former students out of social assistance, put current students to work with real-life case studies, and reduce the social costs, say poverty, psychological and financial. By having our current students work with the unemployed graduates, they see each other. We create more empathy with the current students, and we create more activity with the graduating students. And through that, I think we we create better graduates in the end, and we make the whole society more inclusive because they recognize that this too is a possibility. I'm not sure how it works in France, but here, when we try to get high school kids to come here to study, we tell them 4 years and then your life's going to be awesome. You're going to have a nice car and a dog and a house. That's kind of how we bring them in. But as soon, they never get confronted with the other possibilities. And we feel it's very important that they know that. And that's actually the first thing when we got our current students talking with the unemployed former students. They were shocked. Oh, so this is a possibility too. I could be that. And so that was very interesting and very good. Okay. And right now we've actually the whole reduction of social cost, we have an agreement with the city council that if we get people out of the welfare situation, that we get a certain amount of money per person. But it has to be sustainable. So it has to be at least 6 months with the possibility of a full-term contract. And that's what we're working towards. That's kind of cool. All right. As I said, we follow DBE, design-based education, and we've been trying to look at the problem from all different angles. What is the issue? Why are people not getting a job? The economy is on fire. It's crazy. For every 133 job openings, there's only 100 candidates. So why are these people sitting at home? We wanted to know that. And the first time that we told that to our students, they were like, "Oh God, losers! Why? Why?" And I was like, "Yeah, why? So let's figure that one out." So we decided to just start talking to them and figure out why. And we found out there's clusters of different. You get people with serious psychological issues, which we cannot help. We're not. That's why we have mental health services. But there's also people that have just made a couple of mistakes or did a couple of side steps and they don't dare to do anything anymore. We can help them quite easily. So we started with a meet and match. It was heterogeneous and it was a distrustful group and discontinuous processes that require customization. We found out that this was when we didn't know yet what the unemployed graduate population was built up from. So we found out they're heterogeneous. Everybody was different, and everybody needed a personal approach. Then we went from the meet and match, where we actually had employers and former graduates. We put them together just to see what happened. Then we went towards the living room, which is a lot smaller. We just invited them to the lab, and we had a bunch of our students and then graduates, and they just started talking. What do you need? What can we do? And that was really great. And we then found out there was a lot of work per person, which is actually also why the municipality doesn't do it very well, because it's a lot of work. They take the easy cases, which they can place, so they can say, look, I placed 10 people, and these people were always put on the bottom of the pile because they were, well, more difficult to place. So from our living room, we moved towards informal coaching by peer buddies, which is actually step 1 and step 2 together. We've got our students that are guiding the graduates without a job, and literally asking, what do you need? What can we do for you? And step 4, what we're doing is we're working together with the Student Success Center here at NHL Stenden to work more preventatively. Because this is all very curative. These people are already unemployed, and that's really sad, but we can do something with it. We also want to make sure that it doesn't happen, so that the students know that there is assistance. That, well, what we found is most students that end up unemployed think they're the only one. They see their peers, they see their friends, they all have jobs, they do stuff, and and they think, yeah, look, everybody else is successful, I'm not, and then they get more depressed, and they're not alone. There's a lot of people within the school that are recently out of school that are in the same situation. So yeah, we're working towards prevention, making sure that that these people don't have the issues that other people have had. So then our impact. We've got increased independence and a large social network, and we're making steps with the alumni. But yeah, the graduates, sometimes they're not really graduated yet. they're lingering. It doesn't really happen a lot in America because you have to pay $10,000 a year. But here, school is 2,000 euros a year, which is more affordable. And sometimes people study or take 10 years to do a 4-year program. We find them, we look them up, we tell them come on in, and then Dr. Rietveld has started up a thesis bootcamp, and where we just get them in, and then, well, like what I said in the previous workshop, we contacted 30, 10 said they would come, 6 actually showed up, and those 6 are going to be done in June, and they're going to feel really good about themselves, and we're going to make that a lot bigger so that we can offer that to the entire university, because believe it or not, there are about 2,000 long studiers, people that have been here for way over 6 years, which is a lot. So there's a lot to gain. The students get stranger knowledge. All of a sudden they start talking to people that are in a situation that's alien to them, yet that could be them. And because they recognize themselves in it, they form commitment and they do stuff. We had a couple of students that worked on the project, and then their minor ended, and they kept on coaching their buddies. So that was really cool. That's actually what you wanted. We keep innovating our education, because the Premium 2022, we won a very prestigious prize last week. We were nominated, we were given second prize for the most innovative educational concept of the Netherlands within the University of Applied Sciences. So they gave us 800,000 euros. Which is great. Yes, Tesla's for everyone. No. And so that's really wonderful. That's a really big honor, but also it gives us the freedom to really work on what we're doing. Because normally you have to beg for funds. We usually start around April begging for funds so that we can continue in September. And now we can say, hey, we've got our budget covered for the coming couple of years. We're good. So we're going to do really cool things with this, I think. And the municipality is very happy because what we're offering is going to be added to their service offering. So they can say, hey, we've got somebody here that's kind of difficult. Can you? And then we'll say, yes, please. And we've got very many new partners. We get more and more people, well, especially now since we've been in the newspaper, but there's a lot of companies that want to work with us, and so we have to be very stringent on who we work with, because there's a lot of for-profit companies that want to work with us. We don't really want to do that because that goes against our beliefs, but there's a lot of non-governmental organizations that want to do things, and yes, we welcome them with open arms. Conclusion. Working towards an inclusive educational organization requires a new approach to community thinking, which is really scary and something as old and bureaucratic as a university. But by educating students in informal coaching, they gain a better understanding of the challenges they and others may face. Yeah. Couldn't have written it better myself. So if you have time, do we have time? What time do we have to run?
6 minutes.
You have 6 minutes. Okay.
It is long enough to answer that question.
That's
what
way.
Could you do?
Yeah, what could you do if you're? What could you do to your target group, for your target group? Good. 1 minute to think, 2 minutes to.
I think for my organization, it's an opportunity.
You can do it in French. That's fine. We'll just.
Yeah.
More collective space, because mentoring is really individual, 1+1, and for this target, I think collective is a real opportunity to find a job, to have self-confidence, to share. So we want to try to have more collective space
Yeah.
for interaction and students, people.
Yeah.
The
That's,
more
and that's
the
actually,
better.
that's
Yeah.
the more the better. Yeah, but that's also the biggest issue normally. Like that's what we find. If you work with a couple of different schools, for instance, and a couple of organizations, you need to have somebody who's available almost full time to make sure that everything matches. That you can do the everything collectively, and that's really difficult. That's what we're finally working out. Yeah.
I just have one question about your boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do during the camp?
Oh, that's normally with when you're writing your thesis, and you start with your plan of action and all your subject, of course, and all the questions. What we do is we bring them in on a Monday, and we start. Well, we pretty much go through the whole syllabus. We tell them what they need to do, and then they do it. So it's not literally a boot camp, but and we're all there. So there's research lecturers to help them with every step. Because normally, if people write a thesis, I'm the same way. If I have to do things, or if it's written somewhere, I read it and I put it away and I do something else. And with these students, it's the same thing. So what we do is we put them all together in the classroom.
Lock the door.
We lock the door. We give them coffee, and then we just start working. So we literally go through all the steps of writing a thesis. And actually, next week is the return day, and then they have one more month to deliver everything. So they've done all the pre-work, and then they had a couple of weeks to do their research, to gather the data. And now Tuesday they're coming back in, and we're going to talk to them, see where they are, where they stand. We can tick all the boxes, hopefully, and then they can go on to finalizing their thesis, and then before you know it, they're graduating. But it's a lot of work in theory and on paper, but in reality, it's just a lot of fun. Because you see the students when they come in, they're again kind of the dead bird. They have no clue what to do, and they're very shamed because it took them so long. They don't even dare to walk through the door here. But then we open the door and say, "Come on in." Well, it's okay. And the first 5 minutes, it feels awkward, but after that, it's just like, "All right, let's go, let's do this," and that's fun. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, there are some tears sometimes,
Of course.
some laughs, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And one already had a grade for this thesis boot camp, and it was near an 8. So it's incredible that someone just doesn't write it, you know, and then at the end she receives an 8.
Yep.
So
that's really cool.
We are very proud.
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah. And no one tells us to do this, you know, no one. We're just doing it ourselves. So
Yeah.
it's so nice to get this premium, because it's also a way to, people found it very important, but no one does it.
Yeah.
And we do it. We
Yeah.
just do it. We just start. There's really a lot of need, because there are not 2,000 but 4,000
Oh,
students.
sorry, 4,000.
Long term.
I was off by.
It's nearly 20% of our school population. So.
Yeah. That's crazy. So there's a lot of work to do, and it's and the thing is, usually it's just a matter of reaching them. And once you've reached them and you've talked to them, you can figure out a way to make it work.
And it is informal coaching too, because they coach each other, you know. We
Yeah.
do it in a group, and they have this app, and we don't want to be in that app.
No, we don't.
But they help each other. You don't, oh, but I can help you with that. And so when you are in a position in which you have no way to come out, like the bird cave, you need a network. And that's why it's so important to make a real network and to give them the entrance to your network.
And
That is what they really
And
need.
it's
And most
very
students
empowering.
they can handle, and I'm sure you can. But 90% of the students can handle their career and their life, but 10% they cannot.
And it's very empowering.
Yeah.
The shame they feel is very crippling. It's debilitating. But as soon as they come in, like what you said with the app group, they start talking to each other, and all of a sudden they find out, like, hey, I know something that you don't, let's discuss. And then, well,
From
that gets them further.
exclusion towards inclusion.
Yep.
From standing outside the network towards come please, you are part of
Yep.
our network. It's very
Exactly.
simple,
Yeah.
actually.
And each
But-
person has something to give.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they don't even know themselves
Yes.
that they have
And that's
to.
the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times they don't know it themselves.
No, no.
And that's
So
so
they
that's
sort of
cool.
really grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have something more? No. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. We'll be more than willing to drive down the road and hang out.
Nice.
Very interesting.
You are very welcome.